genocide on Jews, and what was the abortion, anti-abortion demonstrations. That's a bit off example.
Why do you say that?
I
Do
mean,
you, with the Nazi Germany
if
example, are you saying that it wasn't illegal, or it wasn't
no,
legal
no,
to do that?
the comparison is off.
The
So
abortion and Nazis?
If
That
you
is
said
right.
like,
There's
well,
more people killed through abortion than the Nazis killed Jews. I don't know why that's not a fair comparison.
Well, I actually wasn't comparing those two things. I was saying that the state, if you believed it is immoral to kill babies, if you believe abortion is immoral, and you tried to prevent people from committing abortion in America, that would be something illegal. You're not legally allowed to stop somebody from committing abortion in America. And so I was saying that's an example of something somebody would claim as moral, but it would not.
You're not allowed, like when they're already doing the operation, or
Any way you term it out. Like if I were to go in and like stop people from going into an abortion clinic, or if I went into an operating room and stopped the doctor from preventing an abortion, that would be considered illegal in America, and I would get arrested for trying to do that, even though I thought that was a moral thing to do, or somebody thought that may be a moral thing to do. So that's an example of something someone might see as a moral action, that it's illegal. And the Nazi situation was an example of an immoral action that was legal.
Oh, okay, and that matter, okay. No,
or here's another one. In many cities, because of food laws and the very strict bureaucracy around food distribution, it's often illegal to go set up a table and cook and hand out food for free to homeless people. That's often illegal. It's some would see it's a moral action to feed hungry people, but in many places that's illegal to do.
Yeah, well, you have to get a permit.
Well, some places won't even allow you to have a permit. Some places won't even allow you to go through the process to have a permit.
Is that a bit of a narrow view, considering there is a bigger problem arising if you do not need a permit, which is that certain areas would attract homeless people, resulting in complaints because of noise or whatever.
Yeah, that's a broader conversation, but what I'm just talking about is trying to find an example of the state legalizing immoral actions and illegal prohibiting moral actions. So we could have a debate about whether it's more harmful or better for society to feed homeless people, or if it actually causes more problems when you enable them like that. But that's.
Yeah, Villain, I think I'd agree that the state is not, or the laws that are passed by the state are not necessarily immoral, or not necessarily moral. But you did point out some good examples of, let's just say, when the state has become corrupt and has devolved from its original purpose, which is to prevent immoral actions and prevent people from committing direct or indirect harm against one another, and instead, let's just say they, in their corruption have started to serve special interests rather than serving morality, and that's where these immoral laws come from that you have pointed out. And there's a few examples there, but I would say the vast majority of laws are where most people agree that the law is moral and not the other way around.
But I don't. What I'm saying is that when a law happens to be moral, it's not because that law, the goal of the law is to be moral. The goal of the law is to be order, and sometimes that overlaps with morality. And then people think that the law is based off of morality, so they try to push their own law into own morality into law. So that's why you see weird things like in Montana. It is legal for a 14-year-old girl to go get an abortion without her parents' knowledge or consent, but a child has to be 18 years old or older in order to get a tattoo without parental consent. So like there's this like chaos, and because different people are thinking that the law is based on morality, so they try to push their own morality into it. And I think that's what, when you just look at, when I look at it through the idea that the law is not based on morality, it's based on trying to order society, then it makes sense why things don't always go along with
Well, I mean,
morality.
I'm sure that's true in some of the cases, but you can't say like the Clean Air Act was passed to create order in society. I mean, it's literally just to prevent individuals from causing indirect harm to other individuals.
But I don't. How would you describe the Clean Air Act as being based on morality rather than order?
Well, how does the Clean Air Act create any order at all?
It
doesn't do anything to create order.
It facilitates the health of the society.
I think that's a little bit of a jump to go from facilitating health to order. I mean, no, really, what it does is
is health.
Is it?
If I would describe health as
reduces
order,
regional hate. It reduces regional haze in national parks. That's the only reason why it's even constitutional. So there's no order. I mean, it's got nothing to do with order.
But the reason why those laws are pushed is because people claim that they have a right to breathe clean air to be healthy, and to breathe dirty air is unhealthy. So and I think health aligns with order.
You don't see how there's a direct harm relationship there, but not a direct order relationship. Like if the air is clean, that doesn't it doesn't mean that I don't have the ability to predict what my schedule is going to be next week. But it does mean that I'm health effects are harm effects. They're not order effects.
I don't know. I would see health as ordered and unhealth as disordered. And I think that the reason why you would want a healthy population.
I think you should demonstrate how causing somebody illness doesn't harm them directly.
Because
or indirectly.
The order of society, let's say
illness isn't harm to you.
Let's say the order of society.
Talk about how
come on, man! I've paused like several times. I've started to talk several times. Okay. Let's say the food distribution of society. It would have to run in an orderly way, and if the people that are running that food delivery system, they're unloading the trucks, they're driving the trucks, they're doing all the actual mechanical labor of that. If they're less healthy, that order of that distribution system is going to slow down because they're going to take sick days. They're going to be less effective at work.
I must admit, I'm working at a liquor store, and we do that as well. I'm going to tell you, there is no truck driver that doesn't complete good health.
Well, that's not the argument. The argument is that the distribution would run better with healthy people rather than how it would with unhealthy people.
Yeah. So I mean it's a secondary, like the order, how well your system is ordered is a secondary effect. Like that in your evaluation requires indirect harm to have already been done to people, so that the secondary effect of them not being able to perform after they've been harmed is already realized. So I don't think that makes the case at all that the Clean Air Act is to create order.
I think we just disagree.
Well, to me, I think the disagreement is fine. I think it brings up the more interesting point of, if the goal of something, morality, law, what have you, is to limit or prevent harm to people, who's defining what harm is? Like in this instance, Doolittle's talking about these things as harm and villains not. That's fine. But if the whole goal of things is to prevent harm, then what defines harm becomes very important.
But I also said that I think the state is based not just on order but power. So there's like two functions in play there. So the state will use certain laws just to maintain and control, have power, and sometimes having power is just to concede to the will of the masses on some issue in order to get them to not reject the power of the state.
Do you think the power thing is a I'm trying to phrase this the way I'm thinking of it. Do you see the power issue as like an inherent or systemic thing like that? The state is a power centric thing regardless, or that it's more based on the individuals comprising it at any given point in time?
I think the state at its core is the use of force.
Okay. Yeah. And I would agree with that, but I would add to it the people running the state will determine how much of that force they want to use.
Isn't the state like a typical political state? Isn't that impossible due to the triangle to enforce?
The fundamental thing is that I just don't think the state is a moral actor. It's an amoral actor, or often immoral actor. I don't think the state is motivated by morality.
What's that, Doolittle?
I don't think the state is an actor. I think it's just the way people frame it. There are individual decision makers who make up an organization which you call the state, but at any given decision juncture, there is an individual making a decision. It's not.
Then I would say that
the agency doesn't lie with the group that the decision makers are associated with in your mind.
So then I think the state is an institution that is amoral or immoral, but it's not a institution grounded in morality as its goal.
No, I don't think the state's a moral agent.
Yeah.
So talking about it as if it was moral or not, it doesn't make any sense. It's like saying whether an apple is moral.
I agree, and that's why I think that laws are not moral. When a law happens to coincide with moral, it's just overlapping with morality. It's not. There's no morality in the law.
Yeah, so I think it might be more accurate for me to say, and maybe agree with Villain here, that there's an individual or a group of decision makers that voted on a law. Like somebody wrote a law and then people voted on whether to pass it. And those individual decision makers are the ones that are either acting to, let's just say, constrain immoral behavior. That might be their intention, or their intention could be to reduce disorder, or their intention could be to gain power for themselves. But the fact that the state is used as a mechanism doesn't make laws moral or immoral. But I think that in most cases, at least in free states like the United States, the state's intent, the original intent was not necessarily corrupt. I think in the end, most of the laws end up not being corrupt as well.
Let's back and start with this, because we have some agreement going on. Does anyone in the chat, text, whatever, think that the state government is a moral agent? Does anyone disagree on that front? Okay. Maybe. Let's see. Bunny, go.
No, as said before, I don't think the state is immoral because they try to keep the welfare of or make it better. And by doing that, at least they live up to my moral, which is increasing the well-being and the welfare of the people around me.
My follow-up for you, and really for everyone, is would you want a government of wherever it is that you live, because I know some people are in different countries, to be more based on your morality? If you could rewrite all the laws of your country to be based on your morality, would you do it?
Only if I get the majority of the people behind me to do so, yes. That's how democracy works. If it's not, then it has no use. Forgot. Okay. Then if not, then my morality has no use on a bigger scale.
Okay. So it seems like there's kind of two things in there. One is
Can I add a little thing?
Sure, please.
So, because if I still would do, then I wouldn't increase the well-being of me, because that is not what they think of their well-being is.
Yeah, again.
So what?
Can you repeat that?
So if I let's say that I would still change the laws, knowing that I don't have the majority of the people behind me, then I wouldn't increase their well-being and their welfare, because that is, to them, decreasing their well-being and their welfare.
Okay.
So that would go against my morality.
Right. So at its core, assuming that people agreed with you, which I get would be somewhat contingent on your morality, having your idea of what's moral be the framework for a country would theoretically be a good thing.
In theory, yes.
Okay.
How do you ground that? Like, what do you ground that on? So say you come across a person that does not believe in your morality, and they think they should be able to do whatever they want, and their morality is based on the best good for them, and they see scenarios where hurting other people and robbing and killing is the best good for them, so might is right.
So,
how can you say that how can you push your morality on them?
I don't, because that's not a majority. One person versus one person, not majority. That's a 50-50.
So let's say that there's 100 people that agree with you, and there's one person just going to live his life by might is right. How do you ground interfering with his will?
Because that's the majority thinks.
But isn't the majority just then using his morality to might is right and to push their opinions on him?
Isn't that the whole perspective of a law?
No, I think the state is immoral.
No, because you're different. Yeah, because you're right now you're the one person. The other 99 disagree with you.
It's more like this. Talking about the governing of men. If you leave the option open to have a governance allow for multiple types of morality, right? Then that's what it's really about. So, like, I disagree with China's landscape for morality that unity equals survivability. I believe freedom is the most important thing, not unity. So that therefore I like to live in a land of freedom regardless of the nation. America happens to be the best nation for that, in my opinion, so I'm here. I wouldn't want to live in China. But my morals might conflict with certain things that happen there, but the overall options of freedom is the moral governance that I enjoy. So it's going to allow for a lot of moral landscapes, but there's this overall theme to each governance in each country.
What I'm getting at is how do you ground morality outside of God? If there's 10 people in a given geographic area, and 9 of them believe that stealing and murdering is wrong, and one of them thinks stealing and murdering is wrong, so he goes around doing those things and getting pleasure and benefit from it. Where is the ground? Like, where do you ground the right to stop him from doing that? Because he's basically working off of might is right.
Yeah.
And if you have no
the
God
grounding
to say what's
isn't
right and wrong, then you're just using might is right to stop him.
Right. The grounding is in the present. It's a pragmatic based, right? So if I said, where's your grounding for owning slaves? Well, sometime in humanity's civilization, there was a time for that, and sometimes there weren't. But does it make it wrong or right? Well, it's pragmatic. So, given the options we have now and the decisions we have to make now, we have to make the best decision for us, and so it is pragmatic. So your grounding is in present time and present states, while trying to make the best risks for the future as well, to make sure that we're all being treated equally, hopefully, if that's your goal. That's it, But like I said, you can go back to history and look at the atrocities, but given the time, they were the best thing. It's pragmatic.
But you're just describing your morality as the best good for most people.
I'm not talking about mine. If you want to understand my morality, that's different. I'm talking about history, showing an example that it's pragmatic. People making the best decisions at the time with what they had in order to hopefully create peace and an outcome of helping each other.
But those are all values. Peace is a value. What if the person doesn't care about peace and he's just selfish? If there's no standard of morality invested in a ultimate being, God, then how can you say that it's anything other than power and the pursuit of desire to stop somebody from murdering and killing?
It's not. People do murder and kill. That's the point. But your values are different from my values, upon which your morals are based off of. But that's the point, is that you're looking at it, and it seems to work out pretty well when we all get together. We share the idea of what is best. You're going to have those outliers that want to do those things, and they do. And there are consequences.
I don't feel like you're addressing what I'm asking. Does anybody else want to jump in? I feel like I'm making a coherent argument here, but I don't feel like you're addressing it.
You're saying, but just might makes right, and I'm saying yes. It's kind of like that. You're exactly describing the world as it works, and it does work. It's like saying I do all of the murdering I want to do, which is absolutely zero.
My understanding is to get from a different perspective, and Grim, correct me if I'm wrong. The way Grim's presenting it is that it sounds to me like if there's a standard, that standard is pragmatism. But what seems to be effective for a majority of people, that is the standard, as opposed to the one that you're using, Velen. Or it historically has been, is maybe the better way to phrase it.
But morality is not pragmatism. Morality is the idea of right and wrong. So how can you say that the person that is murdering and stealing is wrong? If you're not saying that he's wrong, you're not dealing with morality.
Let me correct you. Morality is a system amongst social creatures. Morals are individually subjective ideas and concepts from each individual. So when you look at morality as a whole, it is from the subjective viewpoints of many, and you will notice patterns in that many, and we use those patterns to then decide decisions and make decisions called laws.
And that's why I keep coming back to saying that you're just describing what you believe is moral. And I'm saying, what right do you have to push that on somebody when they don't believe that in that morality? What's the standard? Yeah. Like what's your the source of your authority there?
Oh, it's the law of men, governance. You enter a land, it's a law of men. Hey, these are the laws that we've all agreed to put in place here, so please abide by them, or there will be consequences for the outcomes and goals that we like.
And I don't think that's morality. I think that's might is right.
In some ways, it can be might is right, or it's just logic and reasoning, right? And they use might to enforce that logic and reason, so it doesn't destroy the society that people built.
If I can jump in, Villain, I don't think Grimm is totally disagreeing with you. I think he's saying that part of what you're saying is correct and that it works that way. If there's a town of people, hypothetically, and they're really not big on dying, they don't think that would be fun. And someone comes into their town and says, "Hey, I'm going to go around murder people. That's what I like to do. I'm going to do that." The people there aren't really going to be too keen on it, and they will ostracize that person, kick them out, throw them in some kind of jail situation, something like that. And that's might, but saying that one person, their morality, they think it's right for them to kill people. Everyone else, their morality, they think it's right that you don't, and it wins out that way.
Yeah, but I'm
Everyone's
saying
exercising their own
that's not
interest.
morality. That's not basing your actions and your laws on an object of morality. That's basing the laws in defining reality by people's desires, like what makes them
Sure.
happiest. And I don't think
Why?
that morality is based in happiness, because you can seek moral behavior and it could lead you to despair. Morality and happiness aren't. If I don't believe that you can like ground morality on happiness, because then you get to the situation with people that disagree, and the person that is happier by murdering and stealing, all of a sudden he's acting according to his morality and you're acting according to your morality, and that's not really grounded on anything other than subjective desires and subjective well-being.
Right, so I'm not trying to equate morality with happiness. I don't think Grimm is either. But I think the discrepancy is you're saying that isn't grounded in some kind of objective morality. Right. You think that it needs to be, and other people don't think that it needs to be. That's the actual.
My argument is that morality is a ludicrous concept outside of an all-powerful being that determines what is right and wrong. Anything else is just seeking your own betterment or the betterment of people around you, and that's not morality.
But what if I disagree on that almighty being just like you do? Then it isn't almighty being anymore. It's just a state, essentially. The same concept, because not everyone agrees on it.
If there is hypothetically an almighty being and you're not that being, how would you disagreeing with the almighty being's will turn that almighty being to no longer being almighty?
Can't that almighty being be the state?
No, the state is not God. We're talking about God.
You're also inserting a claim as a hypothetical, right? We can prove the theory of subjective morality. You need to prove the theory of a objective kind of standard, and that has not been able to been proven to date in humanity.
Well, you just said that your theory of morality is subjective morality, and I'm saying that subjective morality is nothing but power. There's no morality there. It's just simply power and the seeking of desire.
Even though power is a part of it, it is still subjective morality. So to say that subjective morality is just X is not true. To say that power is a part of it, yes, we live in a land of might makes right. Speak softly and carry a bigger stick. But that is only part of the answer of morality. There's also logic, reason, foreshadowing, intelligence in a way of understanding consequences and variables, risk. So there's a string of situations that build someone's morals.
Yeah, I don't think that subjective morality makes sense. It's morality needs to be objective. Otherwise, it's just simply seeking desire and power. There's no morality there.
I understand that, but however, if reality is I can prove subjective morals, then and you counter that, then I need you to prove objective morals.
I have a question. What if the majority of the people do not believe in an almighty being? Then what happens then?
It doesn't matter if there is an almighty being. It doesn't matter how many people agree with him or disagree with him. He's the almighty being, and he determines what's right and wrong.
Yeah, but
It's not a democracy kind of thing.
Okay, if he is there and people still ignore it, then what?
Then they're if they're not acting in according to his will or seeking his will, they're being immoral.
Okay, and then what?
Yeah, I think the hard part for people that aren't theists is that we're not disagreeing with an almighty being. We're disagreeing with a person that's telling us there's an almighty being without presenting any evidence for it.
Or the fact that there's counter oppositions of almighty beings that say, listen, if you don't believe in X or do said action, then this almighty being will say that you are incorrect. However, there's a complete counter of this other mighty being, so it's multiple claims of multiple moral systems, and that's the problem.
I'm not arguing between different religions or for a religion right now. All I'm saying is that all you can have without a God is just the subjective desires and pursuits of power of individuals and groups. There's no objective morality outside of God. So I think it's ludicrous that atheists discuss what is moral and immoral. They can discuss what's beneficial or pragmatic or functional. But to discuss what is moral and immoral inside of a atheistic viewpoint is foolish to me, because morality is a religious term.
One thing I want to jump in. I want to jump in with two comments, and then you guys can go on Villain's point. One, Nivik, so you know, like I'm just getting static from you. So if you're talking, we're not hearing it, and if you're not talking, you might want to mute because we're getting static. That's one.
Wait,
Two, Honey, to try to answer your previous question about what happens then. I mean, the entire universe is governed by like a space lizard. I don't think anyone believes in that. And maybe the space lizard is going to eat us all for not believing. Okay, whatever. But if he exists, and there's nothing we can do about it. Anyway, whoever wants to challenge Villain's last point there, go ahead.
Yeah, I will. So, I'll say this. If there's a standard for morality, that's possibly the case. However, I have not been shown that standard, and I have not been told the standard. I have conflicting viewpoints of a standard. So if you or anybody says and sets forth, here is the standard for morality, then they need to prove it. We have not had that. So, by default, we must.
You're arguing that there's a standard of morality.
Hold on, please. So, by default, we must work that there is a pragmatic standard, okay, which is what works at the time for humanity. And if we look at the history and the analogs of man, we can clearly see that that is the case and prove it. So that's the counter right there to what you're saying.
You're not countering what I said. You're just arguing that morality is subjective and that it's pragmatic. You're arguing for pragmatism. You're not arguing for morality. Morality is an objective, universal standard of what's right and wrong.
No, that is incorrect. Morality is a system that appears amongst social creatures. That is morality. I disagree with your definition of morality. So,
to me, you guys are just disagreeing on the fundamental definition of what morality is, which is fine. But unless you're going to come to some consensus definition, at least for the sake of conversation, it's not going to get anywhere. You're just going to go back and forth. This is what it is. No, that isn't what it is, and bore the rest of us to death.
I disagree.
Yeah,
actually. I
think
we both agree.
It has both definitions. We're just using different definitions.
I know, but if I ask Villain, morality, you believe in this definition, principles concerning a distinction between right and wrong or good and bad behavior. Do you agree with that definition?
No, I agree with the definitions that. Wait, Yes, you read the first definition. Yes,
Remington,
I believe that. Principles
down,
concerning the distinction between right and wrong, or good and bad
good
behavior.
and bad behavior. Okay, now we both agree to the term. Here's where we disagree, Alexander. I believe that there is no objective standard, right, that we are aware of as the species on this planet. I believe Villain would say the opposite.
That doesn't. I don't need to prove that there's a God to say that morality doesn't exist unless it's rooted in a God. And I'm saying that if there is objective morality, the only way to ground that would be within all-powerful being, a God, to determine what's right and wrong. You're just arguing for subjective morality. You're just arguing for might is right. And I don't see how you can use the definition that you just read to back what you're saying, because it uses specifically words right and wrong, good and
Right.
bad. There's no good and bad or right and wrong without an objective standard. You're arguing for beneficial or desirable or pleasurable or functional, not good or bad.
Here's
If
let
there
me
is no God, if there
yeah,
is
so
no God,
there's two problems there.
ja, maar die is er weer ook met van.
So there's two problems there. First off, you can't say, "Oh, there could be objective morals, therefore God," because there's two different claims there. And the other side of it is
No, I didn't say there. I didn't say that.
Hold on.
I didn't say there could be objective morals.
Well, you said if there is objective morality, you don't understand.
It cannot exist without a God.
Without being
It's a
rooted in a
ludicrous
God, correct.
concept unless it's founded, and that's why you don't believe in a God and you
Why
only
can't
objective morality.
why can't objective morals be rooted in just the nature and fabric of reality, like the laws of logic?
Why haven't